Welcome to Stories for Sleep, a place where stories are not told to make you think more, but to gently guide your mind back to its natural state of rest. If you are lying down now after a long day, your body tired but your thoughts still moving, then this video was created especially for you. The theme of Stories for Sleep is the most fascinating truths about marine life, told in a slow and deep rhythm, much like the way the ocean itself moves. Not loud, not hurried. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, the ocean is a symbol of the unconscious, a place that holds ancient rhythms which human beings need only listen to in order to soften. When the mind dives beneath the surface of consciousness, tension naturally dissolves. This video does not ask you to remember or concentrate. You only need to listen and allow the stories of marine life, from bioluminescent light in darkness to migrations guided by the moon, to carry you gently towards sleep. If you would like to have a slow waiting story every night to lull you into rest, please subscribe to Stories for Sleep. And now, let us begin. There are nights when, even though the body is still and the lights are off, the mind continues drifting somewhere on the surface of unfinished thoughts. The sounds of a long day, vague worries, unanswered questions, all continue to move quietly, like a sea that refuses to settle. The problem is not that you do not know how to sleep, but that your mind has not yet found a space deep enough to let go. And that is why tonight, we will not try to force sleep. Instead, we will quietly descend beneath the water's surface, away from the sharp light of daytime consciousness and into the world of marine life. A world that follows very different rules, slower, deeper, and quieter. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, the ocean has long been a symbol of the collective unconscious, a place that contains ancient instincts, primal memories, and rhythms modern humans often forget to hear. When we turn our attention toward the ocean, the mind begins to recognize a familiar signal. This is a safe place to soften. This video is not made for memorizing marine biology facts, nor does it ask you to retain numbers or concepts. The most fascinating truths about marine life are told here like slow-moving currents, allowing your mind to drift naturally. You will encounter extraordinary bodies, living under pressure and darkness. Creatures that glow in the deep-sea ecosystems that exist without sunlight. And through them you may notice that life does not need to be loud in order to be powerful. The value of this journey is not information, but the feeling of being placed into a different rhythm. The rhythm of tides, of ocean currents, of creatures that sleep with half their brain and migrate by the moon. When you listen to these rhythms, the human nervous system begins to synchronize again. Breathing slows, thoughts soften, and sleep no longer feels like something you must achieve. If you allow yourself to stay, the next parts will guide you deeper, never in a hurry. Each story is a gentle sinking, each fact a cool layer of water, until you no longer know whether you are listening or dreaming. For now, lie still. Let the ocean begin to tell its story. Part 1. Introduction. Descending into the world beneath. The surface. Imagine this moment as a very gentle transition. Not a step forward on land, but a step downward. The space around you begins to soften. The sounds of the surface world fade like closing a door after a long day. Before you is no longer the familiar sky, but a calm water surface. And with one slow breath you begin to sink beneath it, entering the world of marine biology, a world governed by its own rules. Unhurried, quiet, and deep, marine biology does not resemble the systems humans are used to controlling. There are no work schedules, no rhythms driven by artificial light. Every movement follows water pressure, temperature, and especially the moon. Tides rise and fall without needing human attention. They simply respond to an ancient gravitational pull, steady and enduring. Within this rhythm, millions of organisms adjust their lives, being born, moving, resting, hiding. The ocean is a place where light is not always present. The deeper you go, the dimmer it becomes until light disappears. But life does not vanish with light. It changes form. There are transparent bodies, bioluminescent creatures, beings that live entirely in darkness and treat it as normal. When heard before sleep, this carries a special meaning. Not all life needs illumination to exist. Not every part of a human being needs to be understood in order to be accepted. From Jung's perspective, the ocean symbolizes the unconscious, the deep layers unreachable by daytime awareness. Descending beneath the surface is not only a biological dive, but a psychological movement, leaving the surface of thought to touch older rhythms. Rhythms that do not need explanation, only feeling. The ocean is directly connected to your breath. Much of the oxygen you inhale each day comes from invisible marine organisms, drifting in water, unseen yet essential. When you breathe, now your breath carries traces of the ocean. When you exhale, you return a small part of yourself to the world. This exchange happens constantly, silently, just as the ocean regulates climate without speaking. As you listen in this way, the body begins to release, shoulders drop, jaw softens. Breathing slows not because you try to relax, but because the nervous system recognizes a familiar signal, a safe rhythm, a rhythm that existed long before clocks, calendars, and pressure. Part 1 does not ask you to remember scientific concepts. It only invites you to drift as water holds the body when you float. No swimming, no resisting, only trusting that the environment is supporting you. The ocean does not demand alertness. It responds only to presence. And as you continue listening with the surface world far away, a different rhythm appears, the rhythm of marine life, of tides of a breathing planet. In this rhythm, you do not need to be anyone. No role, no goal, only a part being carried. This is the beginning of the journey, a very gentle step downward. And from here, everything continues slower, deeper, and quieter. As you sink further into this imagined water, something subtle happens. Time begins to lose its sharp edges. There is no clear before or after, no distinction between what just happened and what comes next. Everything becomes soft, flowing, continuous. This is not an illusion. This is how the ocean and the human unconscious has always operated. In marine life, there is no concept of hurry. No deep-sea creature races against a clock. High pressure, low temperature, faint light, these conditions require life to slow down to survive. And this slowing creates a familiar sensation in the human body at night, permission to stop doing. Some marine creatures move almost imperceptibly. They do not swim forcefully. They drift with currents. They allow the environment to carry them instead of resisting it. Psychologically, this offers a deep lesson. Safety sometimes comes not from control, but from gentle surrender to shared rhythm. Somewhere far away, the moon continues pulling the ocean daily. Its force is quiet, steady, but powerful enough to move entire seas. Within this silent pull, marine life learns when to open and close, move and rest. Tides become a clock without hands or numbers. In Jung's spirit, the unconscious works the same way. It does not shout for attention. It pulls gently, repeatedly, until consciousness is tired enough to let go and listen. Sleep is the moment when that pull becomes stronger than effort. The ocean is not just habitat, it is the planet's ancient memory. Every layer of water carries heat, salt, nutrients, and traces of long-past movements. When you imagine drifting there, the mind loosens its need to renew everything. Nothing new is required. What already exists may settle. There is deep comfort in realizing this life has existed for billions of years in the ocean without constant alertness. It survives through cycles, rest, and long darkness. The human body carries this evolutionary memory. Sleepiness is not weakness, it is biological wisdom reminding you that you are doing exactly what is right. When heard fully, Part 1 becomes no longer an introduction, but a ritual of transition, day to night, surface to depth, control to trust. You do not need to reach the ocean. You only need to allow it to reach you. And if thoughts are now more fragmented, if words slip past without being followed, this is a good sign. Like deep diving, where ears gently hum and sound distorts, consciousness shifts. You are not losing control. You are moving in the right direction. There is nothing to complete here, nothing to remember, only one slow movement downward. And from here onward, the ocean will continue telling its story even after you have fallen asleep. Part 2. The extraordinary bodies of the ocean. As we descend deeper, as surface light becomes a faint memory, we encounter a different truth about life. Not every body is designed for the same conditions. The ocean has tested possibilities never needed on land, and so its bodies possess a strange beauty, not beauty for display, but beauty of absolute adaptation. Begin with the whale's heart, a massive organ weighing hundreds of kilograms, beating so slowly during deep dives that it is nearly imperceptible. This heartbeat is unhurried, unafraid of depth or darkness. It knows when to slow, when to conserve energy. Each beat becomes precious. This restraint allows the whale to go deeper, farther, and longer than any land creature. Here, biology does not chase speed. It pursues efficiency. Many marine animals can slow metabolism to astonishing levels, reducing oxygen needs and unnecessary movement. They are not falling asleep but entering survival conservation states. Heard before sleep, this feels familiar. Fatigue is not always weakness. Sometimes it is the body doing the most intelligent thing, slowing down to preserve. From Jung's view, the unconscious works similarly. When consciousness spends too much energy thinking, worrying, the unconscious draws us into slower layers. Sleep is not escape, but an ancient biological and psychological strategy. As depth increases, pressure grows, temperature drops, light fades, yet life persists. It redesigns itself. Soft bodies resist crushing. Enzymes function in deep cold. Eyes disappear, replaced by subtler senses. These beings do not fight the environment. They become part of it. Marine biology is an ongoing energy optimization process. No excess movement, no decorative functions. Everything serves one simple goal: continued existence. Listening at night allows humans to release a hidden burden, the need to always be right enough or optimized by external standards. Part 2 is not told to overwhelm you with strangeness. It whispers gently, you do not need to live by surface world rhythms all the time. Sometimes deeper, slower, dimmer rhythms are the right ones. And your body, like these extraordinary ocean bodies, has known this for a long time. Existence does not always require strength, it requires fit. The ocean proves this completely. Where pressure can crush metal, where temperatures nearly freeze movement, life continues, not by resistance, but by bodily adjustment. Extraordinary bodies are often softer, slower, lower energy, yet more enduring. A whale survives not by constant speed, but by knowing when to slow. During deep dives, heart rate drops to minimal levels. Blood prioritizes brain and heart non-essential systems quiet. This is not decline, it is biological intelligence. Many marine organisms survive long periods with extremely low oxygen, slowing chemical reactions as if entering intentional deep sleep. Heard at night, this resonates gently. Perhaps when you feel heavy, sleepy, slow, your body is doing the same, conserving, protecting, preparing for another cycle. Jung emphasized that the psyche is not meant to stay bright all the time. Consciousness is a thin surface. Below are deeper layers where energy flows differently. When you rest, you are not shutting down. You are shifting regulation to deeper systems, like marine creatures entering deep dive mode. Pressure does not destroy everything. It destroys rigidity. Deep sea bodies lack rigid skeletons. They are flexible, deforming without breaking. This is a powerful inner metaphor. What is rigid shatters under pressure. What is soft finds new form. Marine biology does not glorify excess. Energy is used purposefully. And this economy brings a sense of safety at night. You do not need to do more, think more, or perform to deserve existence. Part 2, then, is not just about strange bodies beneath the sea. It tells of another way to exist, measured not by productivity, but by suitability, not by speed, but by staying. As you lie still now, not forcing sleep, not tracking words, you are doing exactly what the ocean has taught life for ages, existing intelligently and gently within present conditions. You may forget how much a whale's heart weighs. You may forget physiological details. That does not matter. Your body has received the message, and the body remembers not with words but with sensation. If your eyelids are heavier thoughts, drifting, the story slipping, this is not missing anything. It means you are aligned with this rhythm. The ocean does not require alertness. Extraordinary bodies do not need full understanding, and you do not need to do anything more. Just remain, very slowly, very deeply. Part 3. Flexibility and rebirth beneath the sea. Deeper we go, the clearer one truth becomes. In the ocean, nothing is fixed. There is no permanent form, no unchanging role, no single path. Life moves like water-adaptive fluid, always ready to become something else when needed. Perhaps the clearest symbol is the jellyfish, capable of reversing its life cycle. When injured or stressed, it does not die. It returns to a younger state and begins again, not by memory or will, but by pure biology. Heard at night, the mind gently stirs. Beginning again is not always failure. Sometimes it is life's intelligence responding wisely. Sea cucumbers and starfish tell another story. Regeneration in parts. Losing an arm or organ, they do not panic. The body enters a slow, steady rebuilding process. No urgency, no regret. Just continuation under present conditions. Heard before sleep, this offers deep comfort. Some losses do not need immediate replacement. Some wounds only need time. Even gender is not fixed beneath the sea. Many fish change sex during their lifetime, not from confusion, but social balance. When group structure shifts, bodies adjust to meet collective need. No identity crisis, no inner conflict. Just practical, biological flexibility doing what allows life to continue. From Jung's perspective, humans possess this capacity for deep transformation too, but often resist it. We cling to old identities and roles even when they no longer fit. The ocean does not. It is loyal not to form, but to life. Part 3, heard slowly at night, does not aim to astonish. It whispers something gentler. You are allowed to change. You may become different, not because you failed, but because conditions changed. And like marine life, you need not change loudly. In the ocean, no one must remain the same to be accepted. Flexibility is not weakness, it is survival. Listening allows the mind to release an old burden, the pressure to be permanently someone. If concepts of right-wrong or before-after begin to blur, that is good. You are touching the ocean's deeper logic where things drift, redirect, and regenerate freely. Humans fear changing so much they lose themselves. The ocean does not fear this. Life clings not to form, but to continuity. And that is why marine life can do what astonishes and soothes us at night. A starfish does not wait to be whole before continuing. It rebuilds while living. Heard before sleep, this comforts deeply. You do not need to be complete to continue. You may lack energy, motivation, or certainty. Life does not require perfection, only conditions to regenerate. Jellyfish that reverse life cycles challenge linear time. On land, we assume time moves only forward. Marine biology suggests otherwise. When conditions fail, life may return to an earlier point, not denying the past, but seeking another way forward. Psychologically, this resonates strongly. Sometimes humans need to return to softer, slower, less responsible states, not as failure, but because deep restructuring requires foundational renewal. Jung emphasized that maturity includes knowing when to return to primordial layers to regain energy. Fish changing sex for social stability shows the ocean's priority balance over identity. Roles serve life, not the other way around. Heard at night, this dissolves old tension, the pressure to remain consistent with past versions of oneself. The ocean keeps no promise to form, only to survival. Part 3, therefore, is not only about biological rebirth. It whispers a compassionate truth: you may change without explanation. You may release structures that no longer fit. You may regenerate piece by piece gently, without starting over entirely. Listening at night loosens the need to define who you are, and in that softness, sleep arrives more easily. sleep does not demand identity only, enough safety to let go. If examples blur together now, jellyfish, starfish, water, this is not distraction. It means the story has reached a wordless layer, and there, rebirth is no longer an idea. It is the feeling of being allowed to become something else in the night. You do not need to decide how you will change. No new path is required. No backward or forward choice must be made. Tonight it is enough to know this life knows how to renew itself. And so do you. Part 4. Intelligence, Communication, and Social Life. Once you have grown accustomed to the stillness of the ocean, once your body and mind have slowed to the rhythm of the water, another deep layer gradually reveals itself. The ocean is not lonely at all. Contrary to the common image of the underwater world as a silent, fragmented space where each creature exists alone in darkness, the truth is far softer and warmer. There is communication, memory, relationship, and forms of intelligence that do not require words. Dolphins are among the gentlest examples. Each individual develops a signature call, a unique sequence of sounds that others use to call that specific dolphin, almost like a name. This not only shows individual recognition but reveals a very deep need, the need to be recognized. Hearing this at night, humans may touch a familiar feeling, the desire to be called correctly, to be seen accurately without having to explain who they are. Sound in the ocean is not only for navigation or hunting. It is a social thread. Whales use long, repetitive, structured songs that can travel hundreds of kilometers. These songs do not only transmit information, they create a sense of belonging. Pods of whales hunt together not by isolated instinct, but through cooperation that is learned and passed down. Some hunting techniques exist only within specific groups, like family traditions preserved across generations. Orcas, with their matriarchal social structures, demonstrate this clearly. Young individuals do not automatically know how to live. They learn from mothers, grandmothers, and older members. Hunting skills, migration routes, even vocal patterns carry the imprint of lineage. The ocean, therefore, contains not only biology, but culture. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, memory and knowledge do not exist solely within individuals, but are stored at a collective level. What whales pass to one another through sound and behavior closely resembles how humans transmit unconscious patterns, not through direct instruction, but through presence, repetition, and feeling. Hearing this before sleep brings a very ancient sense of safety. We never learn how to live alone. Light is also a language. In the darkness of the deep ocean, many creatures use bioluminescence, not only for hunting or camouflage, but for communication. Different flashes and rhythms of light carry meaning depending on context. No sound is needed. No contact is required. Only a signal subtle enough to be understood. This recalls deeply human moments, when a glance or a perfectly timed silence can convey everything. Part 4, when told slowly at night, does not aim to prove that marine animals are as intelligent as humans. It invites us to expand our definition of intelligence. Intelligence is not only fast problem-solving, but the ability to sustain relationships, learn from previous generations, and adapt within a community. In the ocean, intelligence is measured by the ability to be together. Listening to the social lives beneath the sea, the human mind may release a very modern sense of isolation. You do not need to understand everything alone. You do not need to find the way by yourself. Life in its deepest form always unfolds within networks of support, even when those networks are invisible. If now sounds, images, and concepts begin to merge, that is a very good sign. The story is leaving the analytical layer and moving into the layer of feeling. And at that layer, intelligence does not need to be named. It only needs to remain like warm water surrounding you. The ocean does not speak much, but it is always listening. And within that, listening sleep arrives very naturally. The longer we remain in the ocean, the more gently we realize something. Intelligence does not need to be loud. It does not need to prove itself or perform. It exists in how creatures adjust their rhythms to one another, in how they wait, in how they do not leave the weaker behind. When dolphins use their signature calls to address one specific individual, they are not merely communicating, they are confirming existence. In a space as vast as the ocean, being recognized is not guaranteed, and so each sound carries a deep message: you are here, and I know it. Hearing this at night, an ancient part of the human being may quietly respond. The part that once lived in small groups where voices were known, footsteps recognized in the dark. Before the world became vast and fast, safety came from being identified within a community. The ocean preserves that memory in another form. Whales do not sing to impress. Their songs are long, repetitive, and change very slowly over time. A single song may be shared by an entire pod for years, gradually evolving like a living language. This shows that memory does not reside only in individual brains, but flows within social space. Newcomers learn by listening without anyone needing to teach explicitly. In Jung's spirit, humans learn how to be human in much the same way, by living alongside others, absorbing unconscious patterns, emotional habits, and reactions that existed before them. And at night, when consciousness recedes, those patterns continue operating, maintaining a sense of belonging even when we are alone. The social life of orcas reveals a very deep form of intelligence, the intelligence of transmission. Not every skill needs to be reinvented. Some things simply need to be preserved. Young individuals learn to hunt, not through dangerous trial and error, but by observing and imitating. Life here prioritizes safety and continuity, not speed. This carries a very gentle message for humans. Before sleep, you do not need to find every answer on your own. Some knowledge already exists in the collective, in family, in culture, in the deep memory of humanity. And sleep is when the mind reconnects with those sources without effort. Bioluminescent light in the deep ocean is also a refined form of communication. It takes up no space. It makes no noise. It appears only when needed, then disappears. Some human connections could be the same. No excess words, no long explanations, just the right signal at the right time. Part 4, when fully heard, is no longer a story about intelligent sea creatures. It becomes a quiet reassurance: you are not as alone as you think. Even when no one is beside you, you are still supported by invisible networks, memory, language, culture, and biological rhythms passed down through countless generations. If now you can no longer clearly distinguish dolphins from whales, sound from light, that is completely fine. You do not need to hold details. What matters is the feeling of being within a vast community, where life is always learning from itself, always staying together even in darkness. And within that feeling, you do not need to say anything more. You do not need to think further. Just let the mind remain in listening, as the ocean always does. Part 5. Sleep, Sensation, and Perception. As the ocean's story reaches this depth, something very gentle begins to appear. Sleep is not a shutting down, but another form of awareness. Beneath the surface, where light is scarce and the boundary between day and night is blurred, life cannot sleep in the way humans are accustomed to. And so the ocean has taught its creatures different ways of resting, ways that are sufficient for recovery while still remaining present. Seals offer a peaceful example. They can sleep with one half of the brain, while the other half maintains necessary vigilance. Not out of anxiety, but because the environment requires a very subtle balance, resting without fully disappearing. Hearing this before sleep, humans may recognize a familiar truth: some nights you do not need deep sleep to have rested. Sometimes, allowing one part of yourself to settle is already enough. In the ocean, sleep is not separate from the environment. It blends with it. Fish drift with slow currents while resting. Creatures remain still in rock crevices, as water continues carrying information through their bodies. There is no complete closure, no total disconnection, only a gentle reduction of rhythm. Sensation here is also different. Sharks do not see prey as humans do. They sense tiny electrical fields emitted by living bodies. information invisible to humans, yet clear to them. This invites a deep reflection at night. How many things are happening around us that we neither need nor are able to perceive, and is not perceiving everything truly a deficiency? Many marine creatures do not hear with ears. They listen with their entire bodies. Tiny vibrations in water pass through skin, bone, and soft tissue, becoming signals. There is no single center. The whole body is a sensory organ. Hearing this before sleep, the human body may relax differently. No need to listen with the head, no need to hear through thought, but allowing the whole body to receive. From Jung's perspective, when consciousness retreats deeper, senses awaken. Sleep does not erase perception, it shifts it. Images, emotions, and symbols begin to speak, just as the ocean transmits information through wordless channels. This is why at night we may know things we could not think through during the day. The ocean is full of information. Currents carry heat. Sound carries memory. Electrical fields carry life. Yet humans do not need to perceive everything to be safe. Marine creatures do not either. Each species receives only what it needs to survive. This selectivity is what creates peace. Part 5, when heard slowly, is not meant to amaze you with unusual sensory abilities. It whispers something very light. You do not need to perceive everything in order to rest. You do not need to attend to every sound, every thought, every signal at night. Your body knows how to filter. Your mind knows how to let go. If now you no longer hear each word clearly, if sound becomes a steady flow, this is not distraction. It is a sign you are entering a very natural resting state, like marine creatures allowing part of perception to settle, while another part simply keeps life's rhythm. The ocean is never completely silent, but it is always quiet enough for life to rest, and so are you. A common misunderstanding about perception is that it exists only in the brain. The ocean shows another way of knowing without thinking. Creatures do not analyze their environment. They sense and respond. This immediacy creates deep stability, no delay between world and body. Seals sleep with half their brain, not because they distrust sleep, but because they trust it enough to know they do not need to shut everything down. One part rests, one part keeps the rhythm. This is a gentle image for humans at night. You do not need to release all vigilance to rest. Let one part rest first. The rest will follow naturally. Some nights humans do not fall into deep sleep immediately. That does not mean the night has failed. In nature, many creatures rest in cycles. Light, sleep, dim, awareness, then sleep again. Sleep is not a door that slams shut. It is shallow water where you may stand before drifting deeper. Sharks, sensing electrical fields, reveals a subtle truth. Life always leaves traces, even in silence. Heartbeats, muscle contractions, cellular movement, all emit small signals. Humans do too. Unnamed emotions, unspoken worries ripple through the body like faint vibrations. Sleep is when these vibrations are regulated instead of being forced into thoughts. Whole body listening shows that control centers are not required for understanding. As you lie still now, you do not need to pay attention to hear the story. Ears, skin, breath, heartbeat, all are receiving in their own way. If consciousness fades, reception does not disappear. It simply moves to a deeper layer. In Jungian terms, sleep is when the ego steps back from center stage. Deeper layers of the psyche, those that do not operate through language, begin their work. Images, symbols, and sensations replace logic. The ocean, filled with vast but wordless information, mirrors this layer closely. Part 5, when fully heard, does not encourage you to feel more. It allows you to feel less. Fewer signals, fewer distinctions, less effort. Just as marine creatures keep only the necessary channels open, your mind may close the exhausting ones for now. If you no longer remember whether you were hearing about seals, sharks, or vibrations, that is perfectly fine. What matters is not content, but state a state where nothing more needs to be understood, responded to, or done. The ocean never demands full alertness. It only asks for sufficient presence. And within that sufficient presence, sleep is not something to achieve, but something that naturally happens. Part 6. Light in the darkness. As we dive even deeper into the ocean, into layers where sunlight no longer reaches, one might assume life would end. But the ocean chooses another path. It creates its own light. Where darkness is not absence but permanence, light is no longer a given. It becomes an action, a biological decision, a survival strategy. Many marine creatures possess bioluminescence, the ability to produce light from their own bodies. This light is not loud, long-lasting, or showy. Sometimes it is only a small dot, a faint streak, a brief flash. Yet, in deep darkness, that is enough. Enough to lure prey, warn predators, blur bodily outlines, and merge into the dim glow of the deep sea. Hearing this before sleep, the human mind may touch a gentle image. Light does not always need to banish darkness. Sometimes it only needs to exist within it, like a whisper. In inner life, there are phases where we do not need to understand everything or illuminate every emotion. A small light is enough, just enough to avoid losing oneself. In the deep ocean, light is not only for seeing, it is language. Different flashes convey different meanings: recognition, warning, invitation. No sound, no touch. Light becomes the most refined form of communication in a blurred world. From Jung's perspective, light and darkness are not opposing forces, but two aspects of the same psychological process. Light symbolizes consciousness, what is seen. Darkness is the unconscious, where unnamed things reside. Jung did not see darkness as an enemy. He believed healthy psychological life requires both. The deep ocean, with its quiet living lights, is a perfect metaphor. In deep seas without sun, light is no longer the sole source of life. Life survives through chemistry, pressure, and alternative cycles. This offers comfort at night. You do not need ideal conditions to continue living and resting. Some parts of you can function, even when external light is gone. Part 6 is not told to overwhelm you with strange, glowing creatures. It reminds you gently in dark phases of inner life, you do not always need to find the sun again. Sometimes what is needed is a small inner light, a sense of safety, a steady breath, a story slow enough not to startle you. If now you are lying in darkness, the screen off the room quiet, you are very close to the world of Part 6, a place where light does not come from outside, but from permission to rest, from not forcing, understanding, feeling, or reaction. The deep ocean does not need the sun to exist. It creates its own rhythm, its own light, its own life. And perhaps tonight you do not need anything more than letting darkness remain and allowing a very small light, just enough to carry you into sleep. There is a difference between sunlight and deep sea light. Underwater light has no ambition to defeat darkness. It does not try to bring back day or demand clarity. It appears when needed in the right amount, then fades. Its humility makes it safe enough to endure. Many bioluminescent creatures light up only briefly, a soft flash, a fleeting glow. Light does not linger because lingering attracts danger. In the deep ocean, just enough is survival. Hearing this at night allows humans to release a familiar pressure, the need to always be clear, insightful, and together. In inner life, prolonged light can be tiring. Constant analysis and emotional illumination leave no place to rest. The deep ocean teaches a gentle lesson. Light should appear when needed, then be allowed to disappear. Bioluminescence is not always positive. Sometimes it distracts, conceals, blurs boundaries. This reflects human psychology sometimes. Safety comes not from revealing one's true nature, but from blending in, not avoidance, but protection. The deep sea replaces the sun with countless living lights. No central source, no single direction. Each being holds potential light. This creates a world without a center. Unlike land, where light comes from one dominant source, the deep ocean is decentralized and therefore less pressuring. Hearing of a world that lives without the sun, the human mind may exhale. Some nights you have no motivation, no inspiration, no big light guiding you. That does not mean you are lost. You may be in another layer of life where small inner light is enough. Part 6, when fully heard, does not ask you to seek light. It allows you to remain in darkness without fear. Because here, darkness is not emptiness. It is environment, ground, a place where small light can exist without being swallowed. If now you no longer picture glowing creatures, if light feels like a warm, vague presence that is very good, the story has reached the symbolic layer. There, light is no longer image. It is the feeling of being in a space that demands nothing more. You do not need to find the sun at night. You do not need to bring back day. Just let darkness rest. And if a very small light appears, even just a sense of safety in your chest, that is enough. The ocean has lived this way for millions of years. And tonight, you can too. Part 7. Ecosystems without light. When the story of the ocean moves beyond the last reach of sunlight, when all familiar reference points of life slowly disappear, we touch a very deep layer. Ecosystems without light. There are no sunrises or sunsets there. No day and night. No surface to look up toward. And precisely there, the ocean offers a powerful whisper. Life does not need to resemble what we are familiar with in order to continue. Hydrothermal vents lie deep on the ocean floor, where tectonic plates separate, and the Earth's crust opens silent cracks. From these openings, superheated water, rich in minerals and chemicals, erupts not as a catastrophe but as nourishment. In places sunlight has never reached, life does not rely on photosynthesis. It relies on chemistry. Bacteria convert sulfur and other compounds into energy, initiating an entire complete ecological chain. Giant tube worms, creatures that seem to emerge from a distant dream, have no mouths, no digestive systems in the familiar sense. They live thanks to symbiotic bacteria inside their bodies, a relationship based not on competition but on absolute cooperation. Each exists so the other may exist. Hearing this before sleep, the human mind may touch a rare feeling. Not all relationships need to be understood, analyzed, or named. Some connections simply need to be together. The pressure at great depths is enough to crush any familiar surface structure. Yet deep-sea organisms do not resist pressure. They are shaped by it. Their bodies are softer. Their structures are different. They do not hold rigid forms, only to be broken. They accept environmental conditions as part of themselves. This is a profound lesson when heard at night. There are circumstances in life that cannot be changed immediately, but we can change how we exist within them. In the spirit of Carl Gustav Jung, the human unconscious resembles these deep layers. It does not operate by the logic of light, of consciousness, of what is clearly seen. Yet it is not chaotic. It has its own structure, its own rhythm, and a strong capacity for self-regulation. Dreams, vague emotions, unnamed states all resemble ecosystems, without light, unfamiliar, but not meaningless. Part 7 is not told to astonish you with the extraordinary nature of deep-sea life. It is told to expand your sense of safety, to remind you that even when you are in a dark, unclear, directionless phase, the life within you may still be operating by a different logic, one that does not yet require light to survive. If at this moment you feel no need to understand more, no need to follow every detail, that is a very good sign. You are doing exactly what the deep ocean taught life to do. Remain where you are without trying to illuminate it, without trying to escape it. The ocean proves that life is not limited by familiar conditions, and perhaps neither is your sleep. You do not need light to rest. No explanations, no clear direction. Only permission to remain very deep, very still. At the ocean floor, there are ecosystems that exist without anyone witnessing them. No light, no observers, no need for recognition. And yet life there unfolds steadily, precisely, with order. Hearing this at night brings a different feeling. Not everything of value needs to be seen. Hydrothermal vents do not exist to beautify the world. They have no radiant colors under sunlight. They do not need names. They do one thing, only release energy from deep within the earth. And from that raw energy, life emerges slowly, quietly, without needing light to confirm its existence. This mirrors what happens in the human psyche when consciousness is tired. Some processes of healing, adjustment, and rebalancing do not occur at the level of awareness. They occur deeper, where you do not need to understand, remember, or monitor. Sleep is the doorway to that layer. Tube worms and their symbiotic bacteria reveal a rare form of relationship in the modern world: unconditional connection. No one controls the other. No one holds authority. Only complete cooperation for shared existence. Hearing this at night allows the nervous system to release a familiar question: must I always control everything to be safe? Deep-sea creatures living under crushing pressure do not carry tension. Pressure is not a constant threat to them. It is baseline condition. They are not resisting every moment. They are born adapted. This is a comforting image for those living under prolonged heaviness. Perhaps you do not need to endure endlessly. Perhaps you are adapting in ways consciousness has not yet noticed. From Jung's perspective, the unconscious is not chaos needing illumination at all costs. It is a living system with its own structure and rhythm. When humans force everything to be clear, bright, and named, they may interrupt the very deep processes restoring balance. Part 7. When fully heard does not try to lead you out of darkness. It does something gentler. It allows you to remain in darkness without feeling wrong. The ocean shows that darkness does not equal lack of life. It is simply another condition. If now you no longer picture the seafloor, no longer remember details of vents or tube worms, that is a very good sign. The story has left concrete images and entered the background, feeling the sense that even without understanding, seeing, or controlling, everything is still functioning. You do not need light to rest. You do not need to see the path clearly. You do not need to know where you are in the journey. Just trust that, like the deep ocean floor, there are ecosystems within you, quietly keeping you alive and safe enough to let go into sleep. Part 8. Currents, migration, and global rhythms. When the pace, ocean is no longer seen as a static space but as a moving body, we begin to feel its true rhythm. Not urgency, not dramatic events, but repetitive, persistent movements that almost never stop. At this depth, the ocean appears as a living circulatory system, where every creature is a passenger within currents larger than itself. Each night, when the sun sets and darkness covers the sea surface, the largest vertical migration on Earth occurs. Billions of tiny organisms rise from deep waters toward the surface to feed, then quietly descend again when light returns. This movement makes no sound, leaves no trace, yet has occurred for millions of years. Hearing this before sleep brings a peaceful feeling. Even in darkness, life knows when to move and when to return. Ocean currents are the bloodstream of the sea. They transport heat from equator to poles, carrying food, larvae, organisms, and the memory of distant waters. No current serves only one place. Every movement is interconnected. This resonates deeply in depth psychology. No experience is fully isolated. Every emotion, dream, and inner state results from invisible currents flowing through us for a long time. Many marine creatures do not know directions as humans do. They navigate using Earth's magnetic field, long-distance sound, faint scent trails. No maps, no detailed plans. They trust background signals etched into their bodies. In Jung's spirit, humans carry such deep orientation systems as well. When consciousness is tired, unconscious layers still know how to guide us back toward balance. Part 8 does not tell migration stories to emphasize distance or effort. It tells of trust in rhythm. No ocean creature needs to understand the entire system to participate. They only sense the right time, the right current, the right direction. The rest is entrusted to the ocean. Listening before sleep, you do not need to picture currents or migration routes clearly. Just allow a gentle feeling to spread. You too are being carried by a rhythm larger than yourself. You do not need to swim. You do not need to decide direction now. Some nights, the safest thing is to let the current slow you. The ocean never stands still, but it is never in a hurry. And within that steady rhythm, your body and mind may quietly merge to rest. A special thing about ocean migrations is this: no creature truly travels alone. Even when appearing solitary, every movement belongs to a broader current. That current need not be seen or named, but it is always present like an invisible hand, preventing things from drifting too far. Vertical migration is not a conscious decision. Bodies sense subtle changes in light temperature pressure. Entire layers move together like a collective breath. Hearing this at night comforts deeply. Some movements in your life need not be decided rationally. Body and mind know when to advance and retreat. Ocean currents are formed by temperature, salinity, Earth's rotation forces beyond any creature's control. And precisely because of this, they are trustworthy. They are patient. Over millennia, they create roots life relies upon. In Jung's view, human psychology is guided by such deep currents. Not every change comes from conscious choice. Some shifts occur when the unconscious recognizes a rhythm that needs adjustment. Sleep is when these currents rearrange freely, without interference. Marine navigation via magnetism sound scent reflects trust beyond maps or plans. They do not need to know their position on a world map. They only need to be within their current. This is soothing before sleep because night is not for orientation. Night is for rhythm. Part 8, Fully Heard, does not ask you to think about your life journey. It allows you to pause orientation. You may be in transition. You may not know what comes next. Like ocean creatures in currents, you do not need full knowledge to be safe. If thoughts now drift, no longer clinging to words, that means you are merging with the story's steady rhythm. And in that rhythm, sleep is not a destination but part of the flow. The ocean functions as a living circulatory system, unhurried, unceasing, without command. And tonight, you do not need to go anywhere. Just let yourself be carried gently, in a rhythm safe enough to drift into sleep. Part 9. Engineers and architects beneath the sea. When we grow used to seeing the ocean as a living flow, another layer appears. The ocean is not only moving, it is being built, not by hands or tools, but by small, patient beings, repeating the same actions over long spans of time. Architecture here comes not from blueprints, but from enduring presence. Coral reefs may look like silent rock formations, but each reef is formed by millions of tiny living organisms, depositing thin layers of calcium day after day over thousands of years. No individual sees the entire structure, yet that invisibility creates the reef's deep beauty, a living city built by creatures with no concept of a city. Reefs function as complete cities: shelter, breeding grounds, feeding zones, resting spaces. Thousands of species depend on them, and remarkably, these cities are built by the softest, most vulnerable organisms. Hearing this at night brings a gentle feeling. Strength does not always come from hardness. Sometimes fragility creates lasting support. Kelp forests tell a similar story at a different rhythm. Tall seaweed canopies sway with currents slowing waves, holding sediment, providing shade and refuge. No walls, no roofs, only being in the right place, growing with the water's rhythm. Parrotfish grinding coral into sand are silent engineers. White beaches humans love are often the result of millennia of such activity. Sea urchins grazing algae may protect reefs or destroy them if balance is lost. Every small action creates chains far beyond the individual. From Jung's view, the human psyche is built similarly. Not through grand decisions, but through small habits, repeated reactions, unconscious patterns accumulated over time. We become architects of our inner world without knowing it. Sleep is when these structures are reinforced, repaired, or slowly reshaped. Part 9, Heard at Night, does not celebrate reef grandeur. It invites another feeling. You do not need to see immediate results for your actions to matter. Some contributions are small and quiet, yet over time shape the entire landscape of a life. If you no longer remember what parrotfish or sea urchins do, that is fine. What matters is the background, feeling life does not rush. It builds through slow rhythm, patience, gentle repetition. And in that slow rhythm, you do not need to finish anything else. Just let the mind rest like a coral reef continuing to grow in sleep. Human architecture differs from ocean architecture. The ocean does not hurry to complete. No deadlines, no final plans. Its engineers do not know they are building wonders. They simply repeat small actions day after day. And from repetition, a world takes shape. Corals do not build reefs to shelter from rain or sun. They respond to environment, depositing calcium for protection. But over time, a living city emerges. Hearing this at night loosens a familiar question. Must I know the outcome for my actions to have value? Kelp forests form not from a central idea, but from steadfast presence. Small organisms find shelter. Relationships form. Ecosystems arise. Parrotfish grinding coral do not know they create beaches. Sea urchins grazing algae do not know they allow reefs to breathe. Yet the effects unfold. Jung noted that the unconscious builds life not from major events, but from repeated small responses. How you rest, speak to yourself, respond to fatigue. These are quiet bricks of the inner world. Part 9, fully heard before sleep, does not urge admiration. It invites gentleness toward yourself. You do not need grand decisions to build a life. Small, ordinary acts repeated with kindness create a safe inner space for living and resting. If images now blur, that is good. The story has moved into background. Feeling the world inside and out is built slowly without pressure. You do not need to see results now. You do not need to know what you are building. Just remain like a small sea creature quietly contributing to something far larger. And in that feeling, sleep arrives not as an ending, but as another gentle layer added soft, safe enough for rest. Part 10. The microworld invisible, yet decisive life. Once we grow familiar with the vast forms of the ocean, coral reefs, currents, silent migrations, it becomes easy to forget a very gentle truth. The most decisive part of life is invisible. At this depth of the story, the ocean is no longer told through what can be easily seen, but through entities so small that the human eye cannot perceive them. And it is precisely there that the planet's breath is regulated. Plankton, tiny drifting organisms with no power to resist currents, are in fact the source of most of the oxygen. Humans inhale each day, quiet, absent from daily awareness. Yet moment by moment they photosynthesize, releasing oxygen into water and air. Hearing this before sleep brings a strange feeling. Your breath is being supported by beings you have never seen. Marine microorganisms carry the story even deeper. They regulate Earth's carbon cycle, absorbing, transforming, storing, releasing. No council directs them. No command center exists. Only countless small reactions continuously occurring, creating enough balance for life to continue. This closely mirrors how the human psyche operates at night. Deep adjustments that require no conscious participation. Viruses, often viewed as threats, play a role in the ocean as population pruners. They prevent any single species from growing too dominant return nutrients to the environment and make space for new life cycles. There is no good or evil, only function within a larger system. Hearing this at night may soften a very human tendency, labeling, judging, dividing everything into good and bad. The ocean does not do this. It simply keeps the system breathing. A spoonful of seawater contains millions of living beings, bacteria, viruses, plankton, a miniature universe in constant motion. No need to be seen to have value. No need for recognition to have impact. In the spirit of Carl Gustav Jung, much of human psychological life functions the same way: invisible, silent yet decisive. Dreams, vague emotions, unnamed states all resemble this microworld, quietly shaping how we feel and respond. Part 10, when heard before sleep, is not meant to add knowledge. It does something much gentler. It allows you to trust that parts of you are working on your behalf. You do not need to control every thought. You do not need to resolve every feeling before sleeping. Just as the ocean trusts its microscopic world, you can trust the deep processes within you. If your awareness is fading now, if words are no longer clear, that is a very good sign. The story has left the visible layer and entered the background of sensation, where understanding is not required for rest, where small things keep the entire system running. The ocean is not sustained by what is largest, but by what is smallest. And tonight you do not need to do anything great. Just breathe. The rest, the invisible ecosystems within you, already know how to continue. There is a beautiful paradox in the ocean. The weakest beings carry the greatest responsibility. Plankton have no bones, no shells, no ability to fight waves or currents. They simply drift. Yet this drifting places them perfectly within light nutrients and life cycles. And from this, oxygen is born molecule by molecule, quietly enough for a planet to keep breathing. Hearing this at night brings deep relief. You do not need to stand firm all the time. You do not need to resist everything. Sometimes, allowing yourself to drift with natural rhythm is precisely how you contribute to your own balance. Marine microorganisms work without shifts, schedules, or commands. They simply respond to conditions, transform when there is matter, store when there is energy, adjust when there is change. No intention, no goal. And from countless small reactions, climate is regulated and chaos avoided. This mirrors how your body adjusts during sleep. Heart rate slows, breath deepens, the nervous system softens without instruction. Viruses, though feared, act as final rhythm keepers. When populations grow too fast, viruses appear, slowing growth, redistributing energy, returning matter to the shared system. No punishment, no intention, only regulation. Hearing this before sleep may ease a familiar fear that if you loosen control, everything will fall apart. The ocean shows the opposite. Releasing at the right time is what prevents collapse. A spoonful of seawater holds a living universe, yet it is not chaotic. It follows simple, repetitive, persistent rules. No observer needed, no names required. And precisely because of this, it is stable. This offers a safe message for the night. You do not need to monitor every thought or feeling. Some parts of you are already programmed to maintain balance. Part 10, fully heard, does not make you feel small in a negative way. Instead, it invites a gentle truth. You are part of systems larger, wiser, and more compassionate than conscious control. You do not need to do everything. You only need to allow deeper layers to work. If plankton, bacteria, and viruses now blur together, that is a very good sign. The story has left imagery and entered background state where you need not understand, remember, or hold. Just stay with the steady breath, allowing the invisible ecosystems within you to continue. You do not need to stay alert for things to be okay. You do not need clarity to be safe. Like the ocean, most of the most important work is done quietly. And tonight you may trust that the smallest things within you are keeping that inner world calm enough for sleep. Part 11. The Ocean and Earth's Climate. When we listen to the ocean long enough, a deep and gentle truth emerges. The ocean is not merely scenery, not just a place where life happens, but a living organ of the planet itself. It breathes, it remembers, it regulates. And it does all of this quietly, slowly, without needing to be seen. The ocean stores and transports carbon like a vast circulatory system. Carbon dissolves from the atmosphere into seawater, is absorbed by marine life, then sinks slowly as organisms die and descend to the deep. This process, called the biological pump, sounds technical, yet is deeply intimate. It is how the ocean helps Earth breathe more easily. No grand events, no noise, only countless small repetitions keeping climate within livable bounds. Marine life, from tiny plankton to massive schools of fish, does not merely exist within climate, it helps shape climate. Each act of photosynthesis, respiration, each life cycle leaves a trace in the carbon system. Told at night, this feels less overwhelming and more reassuring. Life is never passive. Even the smallest beings help maintain balance. On the ocean floor, sediments accumulate, layer by layer, remains of organisms, minerals, dust from the atmosphere. This accumulation is slow beyond human perception. Yet these layers are the planet's memory recording climate history over millions of years. Warmer periods, colder periods, more ice, less ice. The ocean does not forget. It records change not in words but in matter. From Jung's perspective, the human psyche has a similar ocean. The unconscious stores memory not in language but in sensation, image, reaction. Some experiences are not consciously remembered, yet the body remembers. Earth's ocean and the inner ocean of the psyche follow the same logic, remembering in order to regulate, not to punish. Part 11, heard before sleep, is not meant to burden you with climate anxiety. It invites a gentle feeling this planet has immense capacity for self-regulation. It has done so for millions of years. Not perfectly, not permanently, but flexibly enough for life to continue. The ocean is both memory and lungs of Earth. It retains what must be retained. It releases what must be released. And it does not require constant attention. Hearing this at night allows the nervous system to release a familiar burden, the need to remember control and intervene at all times. If you now feel yourself drifting into a steady rhythm, slower breath, fewer thoughts, you are touching the same rhythm the ocean follows, unhurried, undemanding, just enough to continue. You do not need to understand the carbon cycle. You do not need to remember terminology. Just know this: as the ocean quietly regulates Earth's climate, there are deep layers within you doing the same so you may rest through the night. A truth, often forgotten in climate discussions, is that the planet does not only react, it remembers. The ocean does not erase what has happened. It stores it not to cling to the past, but to adjust for the future. Carbon absorbed by the ocean enters slow cycles, organisms, sediments, deep layers, sometimes for thousands or millions of years, not as repression, but as storage preventing overload above. The ocean does not solve problems immediately. It stretches time, giving life space to adapt. Hearing this at night offers quiet comfort. Not everything needs immediate resolution. Some emotions, memories, experiences need to be stored deeper, not to be forgotten, but not to suffocate daily life. Sleep does this naturally, moving what is heavy downward where it no longer restricts breath. Seafloor sediments record climate history not through stories, but layers. No layer denies the previous one. They simply accumulate, creating depth. This mirrors how the unconscious holds memory. Not erasing, not editing, only placing each experience within a larger structure. Jung emphasized that the unconscious is not chaos, but a living archive where unprocessed experiences still shape the present subtly. Ocean and psyche meet here. Neither requires everything to be exposed to light to have value. The ocean is called Earth's lungs, not only because it produces oxygen, but because it regulates breathing. When atmospheric carbon rises, the ocean absorbs. When conditions change, it slowly releases. Not abruptly, not extremely. Its rhythm is slower than human life, and therefore resilient. Part 11, fully heard before sleep, does not issue warnings or calls to action. It gently reminds you balance does not always come from conscious effort. Deep systems, planetary, bodily, psychological work continuously to prevent extremes. If your breath is slower now, if words fade, that is a very good sign. You are merging with the same rhythm the ocean has kept for millions of years, remembering to regulate, not to strain. You do not need to carry the world's climate tonight. You do not need to understand vast systems. Just trust this as the ocean quietly breathes for the planet. Deep layers within you are doing the same so you may rest safely in sleep. Part 12. Humans and the ocean. At this point, the ocean is no longer distant. It becomes closer, more familiar, and more fragile. Humans do not stand at the shore observing the ocean. We have been inside it for a very long time, through breath, food trade, collective memory, and the traces we leave with each generation. The ocean nourished humanity long before we understood it. Coastal civilizations, ancient sea routes, myths of the deep all reveal an inseparable bond. Yet this relationship has never been one-sided. As technology advanced, human impact deepened. Drifting plastic ship noise, ocean acidification, collisions with giant beings that once ruled these waters silently. These changes are rarely dramatic. Most happen slowly. Microplastics accumulate in small bodies. Noise disrupts whales' sound navigation. Slight but prolonged warming bleaches corals. The ocean does not react theatrically, it adjusts, endures, remembers. From Jung's perspective, the human-ocean relationship mirrors that between conscious ego and unconscious. When humans ignore background signals, fatigue, imbalance, stress, the unconscious carries the load until it cannot. The ocean does the same. It absorbs, it regulates, but it is not infinite. Part 12 is not told to blame or frighten. It unfolds slowly to offer gentle awareness. Humans are not outsiders. We are part of this system. And like all living systems, relationships endure only through mutual adjustment. What comforts us is this: the ocean is not only wounded, it can recover. When pressure decreases, ecosystems revive. With time, reefs regenerate. When noise subsides, whales return to old roots. The ocean holds no resentment. It simply responds to present conditions. Listening before sleep, you need not carry global responsibility. Night is not for bearing the world. Night is for sensing connection. The breath you inhale was once born from the ocean. Your heartbeat carries water's ancient rhythm. And even if you do nothing, this connection remains. Part 12 closes with a deeply human feeling. We are imperfect in our relationship with the ocean, but we can relearn how to listen. As in-depth psychology, healing begins not with grand action, but with recognizing we are within the same current. If you feel closer to the ocean and closer to yourself, that is the state this part invites. No tension, no demand, just presence. You do not need to resolve everything tonight. Just remember this: you and the ocean are breathing the same rhythm, slow enough for safe rest. Humans often recognize dependence only when rhythm falters. When fish no longer return, shores change, familiar sounds fade. The ocean rarely speaks loudly. It changes subtly, slowly enough for listeners to notice, easy for others to miss. Humans learned to travel far across water, but slowly learned how to stay. Stay with ecosystems, stay with rhythms. Stay long enough to see that the ocean does not need conquest, only companionship. This reflects inner life. We rush to fix, improve, advance, but rarely stay with feelings, fatigue, background signals asking for care. Plastic noise, acidification are not just environmental issues. They are symptoms of prolonged haste. Each plastic fragment comes from convenience, each loud sound from unlistened movement. The ocean responds not with anger but structural change, like a mind under long stress, not exploding but losing regulation. When humans slow down, the ocean responds quickly. Reduced fishing restores ecosystems. Reduced noise restores migration paths. Given space and time, the ocean shows its deep ability to heal. Hearing this before sleep is not about responsibility. It offers a gentle message: you do not need to fix everything now. Some relationships with nature, with yourself, improve simply by reducing pressure. Part 12, fully heard, places you differently than daytime. By day, we act. By night, we simply are. Breath slows. Heart softens. Like the deep ocean at night, movement becomes gentle. You are not a burden to the planet. You are not an outsider. You are part of a current, learning to adjust. And learning here does not need urgency. If you no longer want to analyze or judge, that is a good sign. The story has completed its task, guiding you from thinking to sensing, where sleep arrives without invitation. Tonight, you do not need to do anything for the ocean. You do not need to do anything for yourself. Just remain with this breath, the breath you and the ocean have shared for a very long time. Part 13. Conservation, restoration, and hope. After everything that has been told about fragility, about injury, about slow yet profound change. The ocean still opens onto a very different space, the space of hope. Not loud hope, not a promise of certainty, but a form of hope that is deeply characteristic of nature, hope that arises when pressure is lifted, when life is given time to do what it already knows how to do. Conservation in the ocean is not like preserving a silent museum. It is the act of pausing intervention, allowing ecological relationships to reorganize themselves. Marine protected areas, when maintained long enough, reveal a consistent truth. Fish return, coral reefs recover, food chains slowly reconnect. No force is required, no detailed control, only the creation of a safe space. Coral restoration through nurseries follows a very particular rhythm. Small coral fragments are nurtured, observed, and then returned to the ocean when strong enough. No one expects them to grow within a single season. Those who restore learn patience, learn to accept that life does not follow human schedules. Hearing this at night brings a gentle feeling. Some things can only heal when we stop pushing. Efforts to reduce bycatch, redesign fishing gear, and adjust harvesting practices all point to an important shift. Humans are learning to remain within the system rather than stand above it. No longer extraction in the old sense, but coexistence. The ocean does not demand perfection. It simply responds to the level of pressure present. In the spirit of Carl Gustav Jung, hope does not come from eliminating darkness, but from consciousness, beginning a dialogue with the unconscious. When humans acknowledge their limits, admit they cannot control everything, a deeper intelligence gains room to emerge. The ocean is the same. It does not need to be saved heroically. It needs to be listened to and given space. Part 13 does not tell a story of victory. It tells a story of natural recovery, slow, imperfect, yet resilient. Listening before sleep is not meant to make you memorize solutions or numbers. It does something gentler. It replants a quiet trust that life tends to recover when treated with enough kindness. If now you feel a faint warmth spreading, not bright, not dramatic, this is the ocean's kind of hope. No guarantees, no denial of difficulty, just the sense that things are not finished yet. And in that feeling, you do not need to do anything more. Hope does not demand immediate action. It only needs to be held gently through the night so that tomorrow, if needed, it is still there. There is a kind of hope very different from what humans usually imagine. It does not arrive as a clear promise, nor with plans or defined outcomes. In the ocean, hope often begins with silence. When ships pass less frequently, when nets are lifted from a stretch of water for long enough, when pressure withdraws even slightly, life begins to try breathing again. Many marine protected areas around the world reveal the same gentle pattern in the first few years. Nothing obvious changes. Then one day large fish return. Young corals appear. Species once absent are seen again, not as miracles but as memories awakening. The ocean does not relearn from scratch. It remembers how to function when conditions allow. Restoration, in this sense, is not a return to an original state. It is a process of reorganization. New structures form. New relationships emerge. The ocean does not try to go backward. It continues forward, but with less harm. Hearing this at night can ease a very familiar human pressure, the pressure to return to a best version of oneself. Perhaps what is needed is not returning, but continuing under gentler conditions. Coral nurseries teach humans a very slow lesson. There is no way to force coral to grow faster, no safe shortcut through time. Those involved in restoration must learn to synchronize with life's rhythm, rather than make life match their own. And in that adjustment, a durable form of hope emerges, one based not on speed but on patience. Hope in Part 13 does not take the shape of a radiant future. It takes the shape of small actions done properly long enough. A fishing gear design that reduces bycatch, a stretch of ocean allowed to rest, a decision not to extract further. Each act alone seems modest. Repeated, they create space for life to self-adjust. Listening before sleep, you do not need to ask whether you have done enough. Night, is not for evaluation. Night is for allowing a gentle feeling to arise that even after damage, living systems tend toward balance. Not because they are perfect, but because that is their nature. If now your body feels less tense, less driven to do something, that is a very good sign. This kind of hope does not require immediate action. It only needs to be held quietly like a seed beneath sand, not yet needing light, not yet needing a name. You do not need to bring hope to the surface. You do not need to believe strongly. Just know this: somewhere beneath deep water, life is still trying new ways to continue. And tonight you may do the same, not through effort, but through rest. Part 14. Technology opening the ocean. At this stage of the story, the ocean is no longer a complete mystery beyond human reach. Yet what matters is this: humans did not open the ocean through force, but through a different approach. Slower, more refined, and more attentive. Technology, when placed correctly, ceases to be a tool of conquest and becomes an extension of the senses. From space, satellites can track whale movements, beings once known only through legend and rare encounters. No need to approach, no disturbance. Observation from afar is enough to understand migration routes, seasonal rhythms, and subtle behavioral changes. Seeing from a distance carries a gentle meaning. Understanding does not require intrusion. Environmental DNA, eDNA, allows science to detect life from a single water sample. No capture, no direct sight, only traces left behind. The ocean becomes an open book where each organism leaves a faint line. This resonates deeply with depth psychology. What passes through us always leaves traces, whether or not we are aware. Robots and submersibles take humans to depths the body cannot endure. Artificial light reveals landscapes never seen, hydrothermal vents, bioluminescent beings, life structures independent of sunlight. Yet these technologies do not make the ocean smaller. They reveal how little of its complexity we have touched. The greatest change is not visual but auditory. Ocean sound, whale songs cracking ice, rain striking water becomes data. Not for control, but for understanding rhythm. The ocean speaks in vibration, not words. And science is learning a new language, the language of patience. In Jungian terms, the maturation of consciousness is not about expanding power, but expanding the ability to listen to the unconscious. Technology used to listen to the ocean mirrors this process. Humans no longer command from above. They stand beside learning. Part 14 does not praise technology as an all-powerful solution. It tells a softer story. When tools are used with humility, they become bridges between surface and depth, known and unnamed, human and beyond human rhythm. Listening before sleep is not meant to overwhelm you with technique. It invites a subtle shift in how humans relate to the world, from dominance to empathy, from intrusion to listening, from haste to slowness. If you no longer remember what satellites or robots do, that is fine. What matters is the background feeling. Deep understanding does not need noise, and respect often begins with long silence. You do not need to follow every dataset. You do not need to see everything. Tonight, just know this. Somewhere in the ocean's darkness, humans are relearning a very old skill, the skill of listening. And as you listen to your own breath slow, you are doing the same. There is a beautiful paradox in modern ocean exploration. The more technology we have, the more subtle we must become. The ocean does not tolerate roughness for long. Deep sea instruments must learn silence. Sensors must learn waiting. Observation systems must learn not to disturb. Technology to remain must adapt to water's rhythm. Tracking whales from space is not about control. It reveals routes that existed long before humans. These paths are not random. They arise from collective memory, magnetism, sound, and inherited experience. Satellites do not invent this intelligence, they catch up to it. eDNA offers a gentle way of knowing presence. A being need not appear clearly to be known. Traces in water are enough. This mirrors unconscious processes, many emotions, and memories never enter awareness, yet they shape us. Recognizing this does not weaken us. It humbles us. Robots and submersibles descend not to conquer, but because human bodies cannot withstand such pressure. Technology substitutes rather than surpasses. It accepts limitation and works within it. Each deep-sea image opens more questions, not fewer. The most profound change is listening. The ocean is vibration-based. Light travels poorly. Sound does not. Listening transforms the ocean from silence into a slow, deep composition. Listening here is not analysis, but presence. In Jung's view, maturity is not controlling the unconscious, but establishing dialogue. Technology used to listen reflects this. The question shifts from how do we extract to how do we understand without breaking. Part 14, fully heard. Before sleep does not overwhelm with progress. It plants a quieter feeling. True understanding walks alongside silence. The deeper we go, the fewer words we need. If you no longer wish to know more, that is a good sign. You have reached a threshold where understanding no longer needs to be held. Some depths need respect, not illumination. You do not need to open every mystery. You do not need to hear every sound. Just remain in this quiet, where even technology pauses and your mind is allowed to rest. Part 15. Conclusion. The ocean is a story without an Alice. End. At the end of this journey, the ocean is no longer a topic to study, nor an object to observe. It becomes an inner space, vast, deep, and always moving, like the human mind when allowed to rest. The ocean does not close with a conclusion, because its nature was never a story with an end point. It continues quietly, beyond human attention. Every being encountered, from invisible microbes to massive whales, exists not as isolated fragments, but as currents within a larger story, where life continually experiments, adapts, releases, and continues. The ocean remembers not to control, but to balance. This makes it a profound symbol of the unconscious. In Carl Gustav Jung's view, the collective unconscious resembles the ocean, holding ancient images, repeating rhythms, stories that do not begin with individuals. When humans dream, when they sink into deep sleep, they do not shut down, they return. They return to depths where explanation is unnecessary. Part 15 carries no new message. It gathers the feeling seeded throughout life, does not need haste to have meaning. The ocean never strives for perfection. It simply continues through long, patient cycles. In that patience, everything has room, even what remains unnamed. At this point, you need not remember each part. If words blur into background sensation that is natural, the story has done its work, guiding you from thought into stillness. The ocean does not need you to witness it. It breathes while you sleep. It moves while you dream. And inside you, ancient processes regulating, arranging, soothing continue quietly, even unnoticed. If you feel safely smaller now, that is not loss, but placement. Not central, not peripheral, simply part of a larger rhythm. You do not need to stay alert. You do not need to follow the story further. The ocean does not require constant attention. It invites you to drift. And as you drift, the story continues without needing you to be awake. Some stories do not end with a period, but dissolve. They do not ask to be remembered or retold. The ocean is such a story. Its meaning lives in rhythm, not narration. And by now, that rhythm has reached you deeply enough. The ocean does not ask who you are, what you did today, what worries you carry. It simply holds as sleep holds consciousness. When thinking is exhausted, unfinished things are set down. Unanswered questions are allowed to rest. In Jung's view, the unconscious is not darkness to be illuminated endlessly, but a place that nurtures balance. When humans stop trying to understand everything, the unconscious can work. The ocean in this story has played that role, not teaching, not urging, just being. At its deepest layer, Part 15 speaks not of oceans or humans, but of continuation. That all living systems, given enough time and quiet, know how to reorganize themselves. Not perfectly, not forever, but enough to go on. If now you cannot tell story from feeling that is right, sleep arrives not through attention but through gentle withdrawal. The story does not need to end for you to rest. It only needs to slow, and you have slowed with it. You do not need to carry the ocean into tomorrow. You do not need to remember what you heard. Just let a faint feeling remain in the body that somewhere very deep, very wide, there is always room for you to let go. The ocean will continue while you sleep. The tides will continue while you dream. And inside you, ancient processes are quietly working to keep you safe. If this is the last moment you hear clearly, that is enough. You may drift completely now. The story no longer needs you awake. After a long journey, we are no longer standing on the shore. We have descended slowly, deeply, through light and darkness, through small and immense beings, through rhythms older than language. The ocean is no longer a subject. It is a background feeling, wide, calm, undemanding. There is comfort in realizing the ocean does not need your understanding to let you rest. It does not test knowledge or demand conclusions. It simply exists, and in that existence invites body and mind to soften. In Jung's view, deep sleep is not the disappearance of consciousness, but its yielding, making space for deeper layers where logic fades, and safety is communicated through rhythm and image. Throughout this story, the ocean has embodied that layer. Nothing here has rushed. Nothing needed to be finished. And because of that, the nervous system can finally release. Not because you tried to relax, but because there is nothing left to hold. You may not remember the sections or stories. That is fine. Sleep arrives through permission, not memory. If you are there now, the story has fulfilled its purpose. The ocean does not hold you back. It simply ensures you are in a space safe enough to drift. And when you drift, ancient processes within you, slowing heart rate, easing breath, settling emotion, begin naturally as the ocean does for itself. You do not need to sleep now. You do not need to reach any state. Just remain here where there are no demands, no evaluations, nothing to complete. If this is a story you return to nightly, you need not hear it all. Just know it waits ready to slow with you. And if you wish to continue journeys like this through ocean, sky weather, nature, and the deep layers of the human mind, you may subscribe to Stories for Sleep. Subscribing is not urgency. It is simply ensuring that on nights you need rest, you will not need to search. These stories will be there quietly as the ocean always is. For now, you need do nothing else. No thinking, no active listening. Just let your body grow a little heavier, your breath a little deeper, and allow sleep to arrive naturally. Good night, and we will meet again in future stories whenever you need to be still.